Welcome to Pioneer Mindset, a place where we challenge our mindset and address the discomfort in both business and life by finding clarity resulting in bold conviction. I'm your host, Garrett Ruskamp, fifth generation farmer, husband, and father from rural Nebraska. Whether you're navigating frustration from past decisions or worry about the uncertainty you face today in your business, we're going to learn from our struggles and take on new challenges with a resilient mindset. Join me as I share my journey of struggles I faced in agriculture as a farmer and family man. I'm ready to dive into honest conversations to tackle the mindsets surrounding key issues that rural ag business owners face that will ultimately help you gain control, leading to a profitable and sustainable business. Let's adapt to Pioneer Mindset and get to it. Welcome back, everyone. For this week's episode, I want to talk about time management. Now, I'm sure this is something that we all struggle with, and we could dive into different areas that we struggle with, maybe time management between work and family. But for this specific topic, I want to talk about just within our day-to-day, within our business, and how we basically manage our time. And so the one thing that I want to think about here is, where do you spend your time? And also, we've always heard the phrase or the acronym ROI. What about ROT, return on time? And so that's what I want to talk about here is, where are we spending our time and how do we basically decide where to spend our time? So a little bit of context here about where this is all coming from is I listened to a podcast from Alex Hormozi. It's called The Game with Alex Hormozi. And for those who are not familiar with him, a very knowledgeable guy. And I really actually like listening to content that's not necessarily within our industry sometimes, because it just gives me a different perspective on different challenges that we all deal with, whether you're a business owner of a construction company or, an ag business owner like most of us, or maybe just, any sort of other business owner out there. It's all similar challenges, and I think they can all be very relatable. And so, not afraid to promote somebody else's podcast. Go check that one out. It's got a lot of good information there. And so I want to talk about this one because he had brought up this concept and it was just very relatable to me and everything that, we struggle with time management. And so I kind of want to dive into this. So the one thing here that he talked about was basically we need to distinguish when it comes to our to-do list, the difference is between problems versus opportunities. Now, what am I talking about here? Well, essentially problems are going to threaten the future of your business. They will decrease the likelihood that your business will exist. What are some certain problems that you think you're facing right now, or maybe you have faced within your business in the past? Well, I'd say, for a lot of people, especially in the ag industry, I think we're going to face problems such as, say, cash flow, maybe profitability, maybe labor, hiring employees or just keeping employees, or just being short on labor. Or maybe also just communication, struggling with communication problems, or just some different, organizational problems within our businesses. I think those are some pretty common issues or problems that we face. So let's just kind of keep your mind rolling on the problems. Now let's switch this over to opportunities. Well, essentially opportunities are things that you are not doing that you should be doing that could expand or grow your business. That's essentially what we're talking about when it comes to opportunities. Now think about, in your business or your line of work, what are the current opportunities in your business? Well, I'd say for most farmers or ranchers, maybe it's an opportunity of picking up more ground, more farm ground. Maybe for livestock owners, it's picking up more livestock or cows or cattle. Maybe it's buying a new piece of equipment, something that you could potentially do some custom work with. Maybe something that's going to provide you a new source of revenue. Or maybe it's even, like I said, trying to sell something new, trying to become a dealer of some sorts, something like that to, like I said, kind of bring more revenue back to the operation. And the thing about opportunities are, these are fun. Man, opportunities are so fun to think about. It's so much easier to go do opportunities versus problems. And that's what we're exactly going to talk about today. So when it comes to prioritizing these things, and the one thing that I want to talk about here is your business will grow if you prioritize opportunities. Your business will grow if you prioritize opportunities. It's no secret. If you're going to really be focusing on all the opportunities out in front of you, you're ultimately going to grow your business. But the thing about that is, you're also going to grow your problems. Your problems will grow as well. So we need to be focusing on our problems first. That's why it's a lot easier to solve smaller problems versus bigger problems. Now, what do I mean by this? When it comes to some of these issues or problems that we deal with, we will be more profitable if we grow our acres. Have you ever heard that before? Yeah, I have. So this is something that we think about. We think, well, if we grow our business, maybe, our problems will go away. But in fact, our problems will sometimes grow. If you're losing, $50 an acre right now and you double your acres, is that going to help you out any? Well, probably not. You need to really keep this in mind that your problems are going to grow, and it's a lot easier to solve smaller problems versus bigger problems. Or the other thing here is back to labor. We're currently struggling with labor right now, but let's go ahead and just grow our business anyways, and hopefully this problem will just kind of go away, right? I think that's one thing that we can sometimes kind of be naive about or kind of tend to forget about. And so the one thing to keep talking about here is when you solve your problems, you will also grow. That's one thing that I think we tend to forget about is if you focused on your problems and if you solved your problems, at the end of the day, you will ultimately grow because your business will be more efficient. It'll be just better running. It'll be more smooth running. You're going to take care of some of those problems, and then you're going to be able to focus on those opportunities as well. And so when you grow through opportunities, you grow by doing more. And that's one thing that I think was kind of a big eye-opener for me, or just kind of like really hit home and just made sense. Because let's think about this. I don't know about you, but I like to seek out opportunities. I like to seek out anything that I think will be new and fun and upcoming. And at the end of the day, this basically means I'm going to be doing more. It's going to take more time, more of my mental capacity, more of me to do these new opportunities. Just the way that our business is set up. That's just the way that this makes sense. So you're going to be growing by doing more. So if you're currently looking at all of your to-do list and you're just overwhelmed, you just feel like you can never get caught up on anything. You feel like you're always under the water, always trying to play catch up, and you just don't either have enough help or you don't have enough capacity to do everything on your to-do list. You feel like you're constantly falling behind. Well, part of that is maybe because you're focusing on these opportunities which require you to do more. And I think this can be a really big problem, but also to kind of take a step back, I do think it is a good thing. I think that's something as entrepreneurs, as business owners, that's something that we're just kind of bred into us that comes almost naturally is the act of doing more. We think we can handle more than what we probably can. And I think sometimes that causes us to push the limits and to really go for things and really seek the gold, so to speak. And that really causes us to be risky and to go after our dreams and all that other fun stuff. And I think that, like I said, that can be good, but this also can be a problem. And I think it's because we're often not afraid to do more. And where I think comes from is I think this comes from we are basically taught, trained, and conditioned to do more to be more profitable. I have said this many times before if you've listened to my podcast. That's kind of the way that I grew up is if you work hard, you'll make a good living. And in my mind, that equates to if I work harder, I'll make more money. If I do more, I'll be more profitable. I'll make more money. But that's not always the case. I'm sure you've felt this before where I pushed the limits. I've done more, but I didn't see the results from that. I didn't see anything back to my family. I didn't see anything back to my return on time, like I mentioned before. And so that's where I think that we need to be very careful because, like I said before, when you grow through opportunities, you're going to grow by doing more. And this can be a problem. So we need to kind of be mindful of that. So how do we do this? How is this kind of a practical situation here that we can tackle our to-do list? Well, essentially what we need to do here is it's pretty simple, is we need to distinguish our to-do list and everything on it between problems and opportunities. Now, let's just kind of think about this. Problems, if you look at the list that you have right in front of you, wherever it's at, which of these things are problems that I need to solve that will ultimately make us better? Make us better. And I think that's one thing there. That if you look at your to-do list, it shouldn't necessarily be that hard to distinguish, okay, this is maybe a problem. I need to take care of maybe this situation with some employees. I need to take care of that versus going and focusing on trying to talk to the landlord next door or the potential landlord prospect, or I need to be focusing on everything that's on our to-do list today, taking care of the day-to-day problems that we have at hand versus maybe looking out into the future at maybe a new business venture. I think it's usually pretty easy when I look at my to-do list. We create our to-do list, or I kind of work on our to-do list with our Monday morning meetings, and I go over it with our team, which is, Just to be honest, it's just me and my dad typically, or me, my dad and my wife, Helen. And so I go over this to-do list and this is everything that I need to do. And it's pretty easy to see that it's like, oh, well, that's maybe not necessarily a super big priority because that's maybe trying to capture an opportunity, so to speak, versus taking care of paying the fertilizer bill or taking care of booking fertilizer for next year or getting the weeds sprayed and everything that we need to do on the day-to-day basis. So there's some things there that I think it'd be pretty easy to look down that list and kind of distinguish which ones are problems and which ones are opportunities. So the other thing that I want to talk about here is the dichotomy. And the dichotomy is essentially the balance that we need to have. And we must find some sort of balance. And in my opinion, I think it's a constant struggle that we always seem like we're always putting out fires. And when you're putting out fires, you're always, feel like you're not staying up on your to-do list. You're always falling behind, like I mentioned before. It's very physically and mentally draining to be constantly focused on problems. And like I mentioned before, opportunities, they're fun, they're easy, they're exciting. Well, we still need to be focusing on our problems. We need to take care of those first, but I think there needs to be a healthy balance. And I think that can be the take home here, or the lesson is we need to prioritize the problems first, and then maybe we can focus on the opportunities. I think we need to analyze how we spend our time. Like we said, we were talking about time management. Yes, I want to focus on the problems because that's ultimately going to help our business be better. That's going to help our business grow in the right way versus maybe grow by doing more with the opportunities, focusing on opportunities. Well, I think if we focus on maybe how we spend our time, this is just kind of some numbers that I threw out here. Say you focus 90% of your time on the problems at hand, and then maybe 10% of your time focused on opportunities. Because I think there definitely needs to be a balance there. If we're constantly focusing on opportunities, yes, we will grow. But I kind of go back to, like I said, the mental standpoint is that can be sometimes physically draining if you're not staying on top of these. And that's where I think we also need to focus on going back to the 80-20 rule that I mentioned before. Basically 20% of your time, that's getting you 80% of the results. This is all talking about working on your business. If you're constantly going back to, putting out the fires, constantly trying to solve problems, can never feel like you're getting ahead, never feel like you have enough time to even focus on any opportunities at hand, well, part of that is a problem in itself. That's a problem in itself is because you're constantly working in your business. From that, I think we can focus on problems such as creating systems and processes to create a decentralized operation, because I feel like at least our operation or many operations around here, everything is very centralized because everything revolves around you, the business owner, the manager, whatever your position is. And if you're not there, things do not move forward. I think if we can create a very decentralized operation, so that way that creates some time in your day to day, that way you can get away from working in the business and get to working on the business. Like I've mentioned many times before in some of these different episodes, I think that's a constant struggle when it comes to time management. So that is kind of a problem in itself, is because we don't have the time to even focus on anything but problems. And so I think there, maybe that also kind of goes back to the labor side of things. If we're constantly working in the business, maybe we need to hire some help. Maybe in order to do that, we need to work on an employee handbook. We need to work on some different things to get employees hired. And so there's just different things that we can do to maybe focus on the problems first. But I think a part of our time needs to also be spent on some opportunities. But if you can focus on the problems first, solve those problems, prioritize the problems first, from that, then you can start focusing on the opportunities. Then you can grow your business in a very efficient and a better manner. And so I think that's a good thing for us to keep in mind and to remember there. Now, as we start to wrap this, one thing I want to say here is by solving the problems first, you will then be able to see the opportunities more clearly. And I think this is something that also kind of struck home for me, is because think about how distracted you are, because if you're constantly focusing on problems and you're just kind of bogged down by everything that's going on in the day-to-day and all the issues that you're trying to deal with, okay, then you get all these different opportunities that come up and they're just shiny, they're fun, they're new, they're exciting. And it's so much easier to focus on those, like I mentioned before. You're going to go after those much easier and probably much faster than maybe you should. You're going to be distracted by all those shiny objects all the time. And just a side note here, I'm the same as you guys. As a visionary of our business, a visionary that's somebody that's always I want to say somebody that's kind of always looking out to the future of the business, looking out to all the opportunities, looking out for, anything that's possible for a business and everything that we can do. I think that's who I am through and through. I'm somebody that loves to focus on opportunities. I'm somebody that has been diagnosed with shiny object syndrome, and that comes directly from my wife. She can attest to that. I suffer from this as well as most of you, I'm sure. And so the one thing about that is we can get very distracted by all these shiny objects, and they can seem so good, so shiny, so awesome in the moment. As soon as we come up with this idea, it's the best idea we've ever had. We're going to go after that. We're going to go after it now. Versus maybe we write down this big shiny object idea. We write it down somewhere with all of our other big shiny object ideas, because that's a huge list that we have. Write that down somewhere, but then go back to the problems like I talked about. Those are the number one priorities, focusing on the problems. Because if we maybe give those big shiny objects, those big opportunities that we have in front of us, some time to rest, some time to sit on them, I can guarantee you we're going to come back to them and we're going to be like, well, that was kind of stupid. Why did I even have that idea? Or that didn't really look like it was going to pan out after I got to thinking about it more. And like I said before, you will then be able to see the opportunities more clearly by first prioritizing the problems first. And I think that's why it's also good if you are the visionary in your operation, or if somebody else is the visionary in our operation, I'm the visionary. And then usually my wife, Ellen, keeps me grounded. I think there's got to be that healthy balance, got to be a partner of some sorts, whether it's your spouse or your business partner. You got to have, maybe one person the visionary and one person that's the operator that helps keep you grounded, brings you back down to earth with all these other shiny object syndrome ideas that you have. This is something that I think you need to find that healthy balance, because if you don't, all you're going to be doing is chasing opportunities. All you're going to be doing is having bigger problems because you've grown your business without first solving the smaller problems. So I think this is something that we all struggle with. And this is something that I currently struggle with. And that's why I love talking about issues that are relevant to me, is because this is a constant work in progress. That's why I love this episode so much. After I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, this is something that I struggle with. But I think this is also something that many other people struggle with as well. And so I really hope that you've found value in this. And I really hope that this is something that hits home for you. And if you ever want to discuss anything like this on how you can maybe focus on the problems first and get organized within the problems of your operation and prioritize those problems, so that way we can grow our business in a healthy manner and then focus on the opportunities from there, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to have that conversation. But until then, this is all I've got for now, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for tagging along with me today as we sharpened our mindsets. If you've gained insight from today's episode, be sure to take a screenshot to share, or send this episode to somebody who might also find value in it. For more, follow me on Instagram @GarrettRuskamp or on Facebook, and join me next time for more conviction through clarity.